just from doing something like drinking a chamomile tea. You know, it's just an herb. It's not a big deal. It doesn't cause bodily harm. It doesn't make you want to hurt anybody else. You know.
All right, Michelle, you pled the case. You got Michael Cotman scratching his head. Let me thank Dr. Eleanor Tatum, Michael Cotman, executive producer Fatim Muhammad, technical producer Lee Majors. Don't forget tonight and every night, Monday through Friday, watch me on Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Central on MSNBC. Tonight I'll have on the mother of Trayvon Martin, Miss Sabrina Fulton. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Talk to you tomorrow.
Keep it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily those of WGCV 620 AM, its staff or management, or our parent company, Glory Communications Incorporated.
Get ready. Armstrong Williams is up next on WGCV 620 AM, where
the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food, Henry's soul food. What we need, soul food. Henry's soul food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com. Ha. Hello, Dr. Reese and Dr. Fleischer.
Hello, Armstrong.
Hello.
I can always.
It is so nice to be with you again.
Oh, flattery will get you everywhere.
Well, keep doing it.
So, what have you been up to?
Let's see.
Let's see.
We've been editing our book, and we've been celebrating our age.
Right.
Did you have a birthday?
And we've been celebrating 25 years of Young Playwrights.
Wait a minute. Did someone just have a birthday?
Young Playwrights, which Thelma was instrumental in starting.
Wait a minute.
That was a thrill.
Wow. Did someone just have a birthday?
My birthday's in a couple of weeks, Armstrong.
How old?
It's a big one.
How old? 80?
It's 80.
Oh, that's a blessing.
80.
How does it make you feel?
Hard to believe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Logan, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Armstrong. How are you?
Wow. Logan, Dr. Reese is going to be 80. How does it make you feel?
Well, I'll tell you, it makes me feel so much better than I thought it would. I kind of feel like I'm starting over. It's terrific. But I'm very fortunate because, I still have my health and I still have my memory. Though there are moments when I'm not so sure.
Well, I can vouch for the fact that you still have your memory. Logan, how old was your mother when she passed?
My mother was 74 when she passed.
Oh, wow.
That was young.
So she was young.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, my mother, I don't remember my mother having a sick day in her life, and I got a call in the hospital, from the hospital in the middle of the night, and I didn't even know my mother was in the hospital, bam. So it was, it was a real shock. But I will tell you, on the other side of my family, I have two aunts who lived to be 107 and 108.
Wow.
107, 109, excuse me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I'm
Oh,
serious.
my goodness.
They were the Delany sisters, and at age 100, they wrote a book called Having Our Say, which was on the New York Times bestseller list.
Of course. I know who they were.
His aunts,
Yes, yes, uh-huh.
And
They
I
were
remember...
great women.
Oh, they were great women. So I remember, I went to visit my 100-year-old aunts, and they said, Logan, I want to tell you something. We're writing a book. And I said, okay, this is something that would be of interest to, friends and family. And, I thought maybe they'd sell a few, 100 or a few thousand to, friends and family. And about a year later, after they finished the book, I was shocked to find that this book was on the New York Times bestseller list, selling well over 1 million copies.
Oh, my goodness.
They were
They
great
were an
women.
inspiration, such an inspiration to so many people. Oh, that's...
Oh, what a legacy.
Oh, well, it's a great legacy, but what it shows is that, just because you're getting older doesn't mean that, you're put out to pasture. Life goes on.
Yeah.
Even for older people. Maybe especially because there's a certain amount of wisdom that they have, a certain amount of experience that they can pass on, and we all benefit from it.
Well, tell us more about the Delany sisters for those that may not be familiar with them, Logan.
Oh, they were such great women.
Well, the Delany sisters were, my great-grandfather was Henry Beard Delany, and he married Nanny Logan. So my name, Logan Delany, comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they had 10 children, all of whom were professionals. And Henry Delany was born a slave. He became, he went to college, became the first elected bishop in the Episcopal Church, and each of his children ended up being college educated, being a professional. As a matter of fact, they said the Delanys took care of you from cradle to grave because we had, my grandfather who was a physician, who took care of you when you were born and when you were sick. My Aunt Sadie, my Aunt Bessie, and Uncle Hap were dentists, and if you had teeth problems, they took care of you. When you were baptized, the bishop baptized you. And it went on and on. It even went so far as we had one of my uncles in that family was a judge, and another was a lawyer. So if you got into trouble, my Uncle Lucius took you in front of Uncle Hubert, the judge. And when you died, my Uncle Sam buried you.
Oh, my goodness.
We had my Aunt Laura.
One-stop shopping at the Delanys.
Right, you could not escape them. Right?
Now, you have to realize that this is Raleigh, North Carolina, at the beginning of the of the 20th century. This is Jim Crow America.
Mm-hmm.
And the bishop became vice president of St. Augustine's College, and his wife became the dean of women, and it was a very interesting family. So I had my two aunts, and I always thought of them as they were just my aunts. I never thought anything special about them until this book came out, and they started telling the story, and it was a very interesting. It had some very interesting effect on the world. I mean, people became very interested in what their views were. And there are a couple of things I learned out of this that they pointed out. One is that these women, they lived very modestly. And when I say modestly, they lived in a two-family house, in a lower middle class neighborhood. And it was, they said that, they bought all their clothes secondhand. They told my wife how she could make a head of lettuce last a month.
Wow.
And my Aunt Bessie and Sadie always said, with their money, they gave the first 10 cents went to God, the second 10 cents went to the bank, and the third and the rest of the money they could spend. Now, one of the things I didn't realize is that prior to their book, these were very, very wealthy ladies.
Yeah.
They lived like they were living off the equivalent of $20,000 a year.
Now, how did they make their money?
Well, if you are alive for 100 years and you take the first 10 cents and give it to God and take the second 10 cents and give it to the bank, there's this wonderful thing called compound interest.
Yes.
And if you do that for 100 years, you make a lot of money. I'm talking about seven figures. I'm not talking about, tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, these ladies were really well off.
And they worked, didn't they? They actually worked.
Yeah, one was a dentist and the other was a teacher.
Right. I remember that.
And they had those old-fashioned values. They went to church. They were. They believed in education. They believed in hard work, and they believed in a strong family values. And
they didn't care about unnecessary stuff. They weren't into glitz and bling.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I just find it amazing, how week in and week out there's these riveting topics that centers around senior citizens and senior care. And, the Delany sisters were just remarkable. Was there not a movie?
Yeah, there was not only was there a movie, there was a play. And I have to tell you one interesting vignette that we have. One interesting vignette was that we were on we went to the play. It was on Broadway, and I went with my aunts.
Oh,
and
wow!
To see the play.
What a privilege!
Okay, and the actresses, I think in the first half did not know that they were there. In the second, and during the intermission, all of a sudden, this sort of spotlight shines on my aunts, who are sitting in the audience, watching themselves on stage, and it was really, quite a moment where everybody was looking. Hey, those are the real ladies, right up there in the loge. They're in one of the boxes, and it was one of those fascinating things that it added just an incredible element of amazing.
What a legacy! What a legacy! We'll be back with Dr. Rees, Dr. Fleischer, Logan Delany. This is the Armstrong Williams Show. Don't go away.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Crust's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Crust near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrustBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams expressing what we mean by conservative traditional values.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
What is even more remarkable about the Delany sister stories is the era of de jure segregation and racism, and yet how they were able to rise above it all and to build something and build a legacy for Logan, their nephew. It's there are many stories out about the Delany sisters, senior citizens who still thrive and build businesses. I mean, people have no idea. I mean, we may not even look at Rupert Murdoch as a senior citizen, but he is. He's a senior citizen.
That's right.
He's 84 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Is he single?
In fact, he's divorced.
You know
no, he's married.
McDonald's was created by a guy who started the company when he was in his mid-50s.
Wow.
That's right.
Logan, please check my memory. Did Ruby Dee play one of the sisters?
I think she did.
She did, yes. Yeah. She did.
Yeah, I thought so.
In the movie.
Yes,
what
in the
movie. In the play, I think.
In the play,
It was in the play. This goes back about 10 or 15 years ago, so I don't remember all the names of the...
Oh, my. And they lived together, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
It makes me think, too, that here were two women who didn't have children, as I recall.
That's correct.
I don't think they ever married.
Were they married?
No, they weren't.
They never married.
Never married. So, without having children, they left a huge legacy.
That's right.
It isn't necessarily about having one's own children.
Right.
It's about what you can give to the world or to the young people who look at you as an example.
Is that they left a very large endowment for college scholarships.
Oh, really? They obviously were the family that they came from realized that this should be perpetuated, and they did all they could to do that. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, there have been a number of students. This is at St. Augustine's College, who have been supported by the legacy that my aunts left.
Mm-hmm. It's extraordinary. Extraordinary.
But you know what? There's so many senior citizens that run major businesses in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Yeah.
And look at Warren Buffett.
Exactly.
He's a senior citizen.
Yeah, 80. He's at least 80 years old.
What? 80 years old? He's 85.
85.
Is he really?
Yes.
Wow.
He is 85. Why don't we ever look upon them as senior citizens, still thriving, still contributing, still advising presidents? Why?
Well, Armstrong, it's so interesting that you say that, because one of the things when we were writing our book that we found was that there was no term for teenagers at the turn of the last century until a psychologist coined the term adolescence. It was a new term. And one of the things we say is maybe we need a new term for these people who live long and continue to work and contribute and think and influence us. Maybe we need a new word for this.
A new word would be helpful, and, of course, the world has to recognize, mainly the young people in the world have to recognize that what was true of many seniors, or whatever we wanted to call them, a generation ago is becoming less and less true. The Delany sisters were very, very unusual, remarkable, and still are remarkable to be that productive at that advanced age. But fortunately, more and more people are remaining productive past their 70s. Which, of course, is a very new thing. But what we have to get rid of is this feeling that, there's nothing more for them to give, and recognize how many do have so much to give.
And boy, do they give it. I mean, if you look at the majority of the owners of the NFL franchises, from the Kansas City Chiefs to the New York Giants, these guys, some of them are close to 90.
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe they should start hiring older ball players to give it a good name.
Logan, you like that?
Well,
you ready?
There are senior leagues. Oh yeah, there are, and but of course they do have to compete with people their own age because there are physical limitations.
Yeah.
What we don't want to assume is that there are mental limitations that go with the aging process.
Yeah.
That's just not so true anymore.
And what was so wonderful about the Delanys, I think, was breaking the stereotypes the way they did. They broke many stereotypes.
I tell you, so listen. What do you think it is? Do you think it's exactly what they do, that they're still active, they're still making a contribution, people are still awing them, that's the bloodline that keeps them going? And if they did not have that, they could probably just go somewhere and die?
Well, I think there are a few things. I think that in order to remain as productive as they were, and these other people that you're mentioning, it's really important to keep your brain active and to be interested in things outside of yourself. That the attitude is certainly important. As if I don't want to put an amount. I don't know which is more important to say this is more than that. That's not. I don't know that. But certainly, I think that people's brains atrophy when they don't use them anymore, or give up, or lose their spirit.
Yeah.
That contributes to the disintegration of the brain, and I think.
Logan, you know
if I
firsthand.
can chime in here.
Yes.
I don't think there's any one way to do it. I think everybody has to look at their own situation and where their talents are, what their interests are. But I think the fact is that whatever your talents are and your interests are, your abilities, you have to continue using them. You just can't, you turn age 65, you retire and you go sit in a rocking chair.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to say, okay, I really love, let's pick a subject. I love baseball. And maybe you start not only looking at going to baseball games, but maybe you find some way to help out a little league, or
exactly.
Maybe you're you decide to do some research on baseball. I mean, there are all kinds of ways that people can do things
and
when
keep their interests alive.
Yeah, when they're interested, and I think that's the key, is just sort of keeping yourself interested and keeping yourself in using your talents, to the extent that you can. I mean, you don't have to work 40 hours doing it, but you have to put some time to it and some energy and effort into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Delaney's, Logan, were their siblings for the most part pretty much long-lived? Did most
they
of
were
them
by
live
far the
long lives?
longest. I think the next, like my grandfather, it was in his late 60s, but then he smoked and died of emphysema. But his son, my uncle, is now 93 years old, and his thing is poker. He goes out and plays poker once a week with all these young people who are your age at 80 years old.
Yeah, would the bishop have minded that?
Well, that uncle was sort of the black sheep of the family. Okay, but he managed to do everything that you weren't supposed to do. I mean, he smoked, he drank, and played poker, stayed up late, and he's 93 years old, and everybody who did what they were supposed to do died. So
there you are.
There you
Winston
go.
Churchill said. Winston Churchill said his long life showed all the wonderful effects of tobacco and alcohol.
Tobacco and alcohol.
He drank brandy and he smoked cigars every day.
Well, when I lived in Brooklyn back in the 50s and 60s, one of my neighbors was Hugh B. Blake. And I don't know if you know Hugh B. Blake.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful musician and performer.
Yeah.
And Hugh B. lived to be close to 100. I don't think he quite made his 100th birthday, but he was pretty close to it. And he was very good friends with my aunts because they lived, he lived a couple of houses down the street. And he always had his cigar. He always had his his little brandy, and it didn't do him any damage.
No, he was still playing the piano.
And maybe he didn't inhale.
Who knows? But whatever it was, he lived a long, productive life, and God bless him.
Yeah. And stayed in the public eye.
He did stay in the public eye.
Oh, yes. Yeah, his talents were always.
Just hang in there. This is such a delightful discussion. Logan Delany, Dr. Thelma Reese, Dr. Barbara Fleischer. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, Contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, it's when you think about the values that we discuss, seniors versus, and we still have many of the generation of your aunts, Logan, who still have the same value system, the same kind of work ethic, and they're very frugal. They know how to save their money. But you know, it's truly a dying generation. And what is it going to be replaced with, Dr. Fleischer?
Oh, what is it going to be replaced with? Well, I think that the underlying values are the same, or will remain the same. I don't think they're up for grabs. I think that what may be up for grabs are changes in how we actually live out these values. The values of loyalty and commitment and caring and charity and those kinds of things, I think, are still the same.
Logan?
I think, yeah, go
I'd
on.
beg to differ.
I do differ. I
think
definitely
there's
differ on this one.
Okay.
I think there's some very different values. For example, when one of the reasons why my aunt saved 10 cents out of every dollar is to save for a rainy day. Well, I think, and they knew, or at least in their mind, nobody else was responsible for them. They were responsible for themselves. They were responsible for their families. And so they were not looking to, whether it's Social Security, whether it was welfare, whether it was unemployment insurance, they were looking to take care of themselves, and they did what they had to do to take care of themselves. The other thing is that, and I hate to say this, is that we are very much of the me generation. So instead of giving your first 10 cents to charity, you give your last 2 cents to charity today if you go to church. Okay? the family, if you look at that generation, if you look at, even my generation, we, and you look at the strength of the family, you look at children being born in wedlock. Back in the 50s and 60s, fewer than 5% of American children were born out of wedlock, and approximately 10% of African American children were born out of wedlock. You look at the numbers today, the number for all Americans is over 30%, and for African American children, it's close to 80%. To me, that's a serious deterioration of the family. We are looking today to say, okay, what can I get, and how can I get something for nothing? How can I get rich quick? Rather than taking that, the old path where I'm taking care of myself. I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible for my family, and along the way, I've got to provide some charity to others who are less fortunate than myself. I just don't see that to the same extent that I saw that in previous generations.
Dr. Reese?
Well, I do think, though, that there is some optimism to be enjoyed when we realize that people do, I think, in general, know that we have to take care of each other to an extent. It may not happen exactly the same way, but the Delany sisters, when we just sort of lightly touch on the fact that they always gave to charity, what is it that made them give to charity? I think it wasn't just sympathy. I think it's the idea that we're also responsible for others, that we have to take care of people less fortunate, true, but how much we do that and in what ways we do that sometimes turns out to be we do it through our common goals that we meet through our government too. That's an expression of values as well, that a society that takes care of the people who need is a good society.
But the definition
I think there is a change in. I think what's frightening to me is the growing enormous disparity between the very wealthy and the very poor, and the erosion of the middle class in this country. That I find frightening, because we're seeing such a concentration of wealth building, and it isn't the kind of wealth where, in some cases it is. Bill Gates knows that he has to give back and feels it strongly and does it in productive, creative ways. But there is tremendous greed, I think.
You know what? There's definitely a difference in the way we look at government today than when we looked at the government during the era of the Delany sisters. How do you respond to Dr. Reese' Logan?
Well, the way I respond to it is that the irony of the government taking care of you today is that, hey, I don't have to give the charity anymore because the government's going to take care of the poor people. I don't have to be concerned because the government's taking care of the poor people. So I think the irony of having a welfare state is that people use that as an excuse to be more personally selfish.
And yet, the United States has a population that gives, apparently, not only money, but through voluntarism, more than just about anywhere else in the world.
Well,
on the part of the citizenry, I mean.
And that is absolutely true. And it's interesting because I am associated with certain charitable organizations in Europe, and one of the things that they admire about the United States is that we do that. But and we say, well, why is that? They say, why is that not happening in Europe? And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. In Germany, for example, there's a church tax. You must pay in to that church tax, whether you go to church or not. So the people who go to church don't bother contributing because it's already contributed to. Most of the museums in Europe are funded by the state. So there's no need for philanthropy because the state is taking care of it. In same thing with schools, especially some of the great universities of Europe have ridiculously small endowments because people recognize that the state is going to take care of it. The problem is when the state says that they're going to take care of it, it absolves the people of having to take care of these charitable institutions. We haven't got to that point yet in the United States, but we're heading in that direction.
Dr. Fleischer?
I know so many young people who are involved in NGOs and who volunteer their time, who do all sorts of things to volunteerism. In fact, when I was teaching at the university, this was part of the program. In addition to work, there was an obligation to do community service. It was a part of the curriculum. It was inculcated from that point on. I'm surprised to hear you say that you think that there is such selfishness. Yes, there are lots of selfish people around.
Well, Dr. Fleischer, can I just say that?
Sure.
If it's part of the curriculum, they had to do it. It wasn't a voluntary effort.
But when they didn't have to do it anymore, when they had fulfilled it, because I was in charge of this program, when they had fulfilled their obligation, they continued and they did more.
Well,
now,
all I'm saying
I will say that when they first had to do it, it was and it was a groan and something they had to do. But one of the most amazing things was how once they did this and how when they saw how it made them feel, they continued this well beyond the requirements. This was one of the very exciting parts of what I did.
Go ahead, Logan. I was going to say, listen, I don't know. I think that the generations of the past are far more productive than the generations of today. With far less technological advancements, I think the one edge they had a supreme education, and you had to really depend upon yourself. And I do think that the government being involved in so many aspects of our lives and trying to be involved in our businesses has really crippled the American people. It's their innovation in many ways.
Wow. I think there's an awful lot of innovation going on. Have you been out to Silicon Valley?
Yeah, but you know what the difference is? It's really among the very few.
Well, that's true. It's
very
a small group.
It's a very small group,
but mightily influential group.
But Logan, does technology, do these people create real long-lasting jobs?
Technology certainly does.
We'll be back. Don't go away.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
But are those jobs in technology created in volume, Logan?
Yes, they are, in very much volume. You know, and I can give you some very good examples.
I'm
it just
sure you
happens
can.
I was in Silicon Valley for the last week or so. As you know, I was out there, and my son happens to be working in Silicon Valley, and my brother-in-law's stepson was there, also working in Silicon Valley. So I have quite a bit of exposure to Silicon Valley and technology. And even my own business, we do our own technology. I can give you examples of how we create, and entrepreneurs create incredible numbers of jobs. Whether they're programmers, whether they're programmers in the United States, whether the programmers create opportunities for Americans to sell their product. For example, my son works for a company that, creates apps for the travel industry. And those people, these apps make certain travel opportunities much more accessible and much less expensive for people. And that creates jobs for people in the travel industry. Not only for the programmers who do the apps, and for the programmers, who do the internet sites, but for the people who actually provide the services. I can tell you in my own business that, technology creates, we make electric motors and electronic parts, that electronic drives that control them. When we make a motor, we make motors, for example, for wheelchairs. So we have people, we were able to cut prices of those wheelchairs and make them more accessible to people, but we create jobs for people putting the wheelchairs together. People, lets older people have more access and be more productive because they're able to get around. So I think they create thousands of jobs. I mean, you look at somebody like Microsoft and Bill Gates, and you look at the number of people he's made wealthy, the number of people who he's created jobs for, not just directly at Microsoft, but think of all the programming companies that have created jobs just, that are Windows-based. I mean, there are millions of jobs, not hundreds of thousands, millions of people.
Logan, you're making me feel downright optimistic. I don't know if Armstrong likes that.
Oh, no,
you should be
that's
optimistic.
good. No, that's good.
But all I'm saying is that technology is basically good. There are things that people don't like about technology. For example, some of the jobs that are created are programming jobs in India. Now, people may not like the fact that they're programming jobs created in England, in India, but they're creating a middle class in India.
Absolutely.
They're raising the standard of living of Indians. And by the way, we get a benefit because our programming products are cheaper. So it's cheaper for us to buy, some of the programs because Indians are programming it. And the Indians who we employ over there actually buy American goods.
Right.
Okay, so
do you think that technology energy is friendly and patient to senior citizens?
Do I think that? Let's ask the senior citizens what they think. I mean, I'm a senior citizen, by the way, so could ask myself. I'm just not as senior
as we are. Right.
I think he should quit while he's ahead.
There is a little divide. Let me say that. I will give you an example. We've been working on the book and doing the editing, and Bobby Fleischer is very good at this, much better than I. And today I met with a young group that I'm helping to get started with a nonprofit that looks really wonderful, and I have offered to help them. And as soon as the young woman who's about 30, who has started this, said, Selma, how about having Dropbox on your computer? I said, who? But I have to learn some of the new lingo over and over again. That's a little bit of a cultural divide.
Well, there is, but I still have to say that I think that one reason that seniors are afraid of tech, there is divide, is because they're afraid of technology and refuse to try to learn it. And this is what I meant before when I said that keeping your mind active and open is probably the key to being 107 or 100 and writing a book with your sister who is so 100. I get very impatient with seniors who can only criticize and say that technology is terrible. It's the ruin of our society, and all sorts of things, because they are not willing to put in any effort into learning how to deal with it. Of course,
or keep saying it was better before. Everything was better before.
Right, and of course I always, I then usually say something nasty to them like, hey, would you still be alive if it weren't for technology? It has certainly kept us alive to the point that we are. At least we have. And that's not true of everyone. And it's, but certainly without technology, I would not be sitting here today, and I know that.
Well, one of the things that's very interesting about what you say is that people do not like change.
Mm-hmm.
People resist change, and not just old people. Young people resist change.
True.
Middle-aged people. People do not like change. And one of the things that makes me optimistic about our society is that our society, probably more than most, is adaptable to change. We accept change. Mm-hmm. Not everybody in society, but we have recognized that what makes this country great and what has made us prosper over the last 200 years is that we've started out with an industrial revolution. We went to the railroads. You got to the airplanes. You had the technology revolutions of the late 20th century in the computers and the internet, and there are revolutions coming in biotechnology and alternative energy that we can only speculate as to what impact they're going to have, but they will actually have a very beneficial impact, and will continue to make us a very prosperous society if we don't resist it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you completely. The fear that older people have of computers just boggles my mind. They feel as though the whole computer will explode or implode, whatever, but it's nothing good can come of it.
Well, it's also feeling left out, feeling, the world has gone so far beyond me, I won't catch up.
You know what? Listen,
they won't catch up if they continue that attitude.
Listen, technology can be quite daunting. I mean, I learned technology and because I did not want to be dependent on my staff or manipulated by them, and that's why I learned technology, because I felt they just had too much control over me, and it just drives me crazy. And so I had to buckle down and learn it. And so I understand Dropbox because, we drop our television shows in there for our affiliates to take them out of the Dropbox. You get a crisp look when you feed them to your networks of television stations around the country. So, you have to understand that. But you know what? Once you learn it, then everything is like simple. It's like the next level for math or the next level for English. But as long as you have the basics, it's quite simple. But I got to tell you, you got to have a lot of patience initially to do it. And why you think that seniors have a lot of patience, they would not have a lot of patience in that regard. They would become frustrated.
I think you're right about that's part of the problem.
Yeah, they would become really, really frustrated, okay? And then don't let something go wrong, and it's a simple thing which they don't understand, and it's just too much. Look, it's not just senior citizens, Logan. There are a lot of young people that don't get into this technology game. They just don't want to get into it.
Well, I started out with computers back in the late 60s when we were still writing in Fortran, which is like writing in ancient Egyptian today,
right?
as a programming language.
Remember, yeah.
And I've been fortunate in that the changes I've seen for me in technology on the computer side have been incremental, and I've just sort of followed them along as part of my career since that time. But I can understand how if you decide, somewhere in midlife that you got to pick up how a computer works, and it can be quite daunting. But it's something that it's like driving a car.
Children are learning it.
Well, yeah, it's like driving a car.
learning
How many
it. They
people of your
won't have
parents'
that
generation
thing.
could not drive a car because they didn't learn when they were 16 years old, and they couldn't have a car until they were in their 30s or 40s, and by that time they felt it was too late to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
that's
that's wonderful to see little children now.
But they thought it was too late to learn.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
They did not. But it wasn't, of course. And, of course, that's how I feel about people who continue to resist computers and what it can mean to their lives in terms of the. This is a very, very sad thing.
I've gotten so relaxed here. We're out of time. Let me think. What a relaxing discussion. There's the music. Dr. Reed, Logan Delany, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new